I'm currently working on this custom subwoofer box. Now I can't just leave it as a box shape. I want the enclosure to look custom and like it's part of the vehicle. In this video that is part of this video build log, I'm working on the woodworking process to do so. Now, what are these separate boxes that I built on the sides of the box for? How did I perfectly match the shape of the side of the vehicle? What advanced router technique did I use to make these perfect inserts? And what is the point of these odd shaped holes anyhow? Let's get into it, my friends, with talking about the design. So I obviously already have the box built. The first thing I wanted to do here was come up with a plan. So here's the plan here. I showed you guys this on Instagram. I've got a few different things going on. Since this has the port over on this side of the box, I know that I need some sort of grill fabric, and I'm gonna mirror that on each side so that everything is symmetrical. I know that I wanna match the side wheel wells of the vehicle. I also know that I want to have a nice big deep ledge around here for some LED glow underneath it. I've got some ideas for how I want to hide the different fasteners for how this is all going to go together. Overall, the plan is to completely box in the tops. So I'm going to come all the way out to here with a piece. I'm going to come all the way out to here with a piece. And that leaves a lot of dead space here. So the first thing I want to do on each side is I want to just build a little storage compartment. That way I can make use of this space on each side of the box rather than it just being completely boxed in. Now, if you're wondering why I use the router to cut that angle as opposed to just using the table saw, I just find that I can actually make these angle layouts a lot faster using the router because I can precision align my guide here in order to make that cut. I don't have to worry about measuring angles and carefully adjusting this thing and then cutting 4 pieces and only finding out that this angle wasn't perfect. I can just lay everything out. It's a lot faster for me on the router. In fact, after I've made one of these, I stick it to a raw piece of wood and then flush trim it 4 different times on the flush trim bit in order to get these 4 different pieces. So this piece is going to mount up to the side of the box just like this. I have 4 of these because 2 of them will be attached to the box and the other 2 will be out here to make up the rest of the framework. So I still need to make the piece that's going to go across here in the back and in the front, and then I need to make the bottom of the storage cabinet. But before I do that, I want to actually figure out how this is going to mount to the box. I start with marking some positions with a center punch and then use a drill bit to drill a through hole for the bolts that will ultimately hold these on. Next, I apply some double-sided template tape and then stick these to the side of the box. I can then transfer those existing hole locations into the box. Here I have a threaded insert, and you can see I've marked out a drill bit so I know exactly how deep into the box I need to drill. Once the hole is drilled out, I can add the threaded insert into the box. For more information about these and how I actually use them to hold subwoofers and speakers into their enclosure, check out the link up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So I've got those side pieces made with the holes drilled in them for mounting everything together. And now I cut these pieces here that obviously start to make this into more of a box. Nothing crazy there. I just cut the bottoms at an angle to match this angle here. Now I'm going to put these together with some normal construction techniques. I'll just use a little bit of wood glue along with some brad nails. With these 2 pieces now assembled, I just need to add the bottom piece, and for that I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch piece of wood. I've already cut it. Again, I cut a small angle on this end just to match this part here. I also cut this piece a little bit wider in this direction intentionally than this piece. That way, once I assemble it, I can flush trim it and make it perfectly match the sides of this box. And there we have it. We now have these side storage boxes completely built. Let's get them mounted in the vehicle. Now we have a nice little storage compartment. Eventually I'll be putting a hinged lid on these so that it just hinges up out of the way. We can store whatever we need to in there, close it back up, good to go. The other thing that's nice about having those on the sides is I'm going to need to make some standoffs here to allow room for the port to breathe before our beauty panel. And this gives me another location that I can have a large standoff on that is a little bit bit more out of the way and kind of triangulated. That way we can have a mounting point here, a mounting point here, and a mounting point here for a ton of strength on each side. You guys will see what I mean here in a second. Let me get those standoffs made. Here we have it. The standoffs look like this. I basically cut some little squares and I made them 3 deep and glued them together and then nailed them together for a little bit of extra strength. And what these are going to do, like I was explaining, is they are going to attach to the box here, roughly here and here, and it will allow me to space the beauty panel, the ones on the right and the left side, off of the box. I'm not going to mount those on the box quite yet because I need to actually make this shape over here that's going to go on each side, and then I can determine where those are going to go. Let's start making this shape with copying this profile. I'm going to copy it to a piece of cardboard. I've temporarily stuck these onto the box just using some double-sided template tape. That way we have the correct spacing to get the correct part of the profile. To capture the shape of the profile, I'll be using this tool here. I've darkened things up here with a marker so that you guys can see, but just know that it's impossible to capture the shape on one sketch. What you want to do is you want to trim this, you want to refit it in the vehicle, sketch again, and what you can do is you can keep getting these points closer and closer to each other, and you get more and more definition out of the curve until it matches perfectly. So we keep trimming and trimming until we get something that looks just like this. It matches that side profile perfectly. Now I also wanted to make this cut right here because I want to break this beauty panel out into 3 different pieces. There's going to be one piece on each side that's that shape, and then I'm going to have that other piece in the middle. The reason for this is I want this beauty panel to completely cover from the left to the right side of the vehicle, and if it was one piece, it would be really hard to articulate and get one piece in to fit. So that way it's very easy to service, very easy to put together 3 multiple pieces. And the reason I cut it at an angle is it's going to kind of match some of that other geometry. And I like this shape. I've taken my cardboard template and put it on a 1/2 inch piece of MDF and traced the profile using a marker. I then use a jigsaw cutting around the line, saving about 1/4 inch of material. You could use a jigsaw to do the final cut, but I find that I get much better results using a router using the process I'm about to show you. I'm going to use this guy. This is called an adjustable curve. I'll put a link for this down in the video description. What this is going to allow me to do is make a perfect curved cut on each of these curved parts of the profile. First, I put some template tape on the board and then peel away the backing paper and then stick the adjustable curve to that template tape. Then, to get the curve to really lock its position, I put masking tape on top of it. At the router, I'm using this 1/2 inch flush trim bit with this special square bearing. It's important to use this square bearing because a normal bearing will actually burn into that adjustable curve. And with that, I now have this part cut and this part cut, and you can see the curve is very nice and flowing. Much, much better result than you would ever get with a jigsaw. You'll notice though that I'm not done quite yet. There are several sections here, but these are just straight lines. So I'm just going to use a normal straight template. I'm going to template tape it into position several times and copy each of these positions. All right, here we have it. Let's see how we did here. Put it in position. Nice. That's going to look good. We match the side profile perfectly. And just in case you were wondering, yes, this does also actually fit perfectly on the other side, but this is not always the case. Sometimes vehicle manufacturers, they don't make it perfectly symmetrical from side to side. So definitely something worth checking out. Now that I have this shape here, I do need to do some sort of cutout on the inside. After all, this is going to be going in front of the port area. I want everything to be able to breathe, and I want it to be mirrored on the other side as well. So before I make the mirror copy, I'm gonna get the rest of this detail work done. I've done some layout work and I've come up with this shape here. I think this looks really cool. I've got a nice vertical line to kind of tie in the straight up and down side of the vehicle to this panel so everything kind of flows together. And I've noticed a lot of the interior kind of has these big roundovers on the panels and these round edges here. So to kind of tie that in, I'm doing something similar right here. And when I'm making the final panel, I'm going to have big roundovers with the router bit on these edges. I'm going to get this shape rough cut out with a jigsaw, and then I'm going to use a series of the different templates to copy the different circular parts and the straight parts. Look at those nice crisp lines. This shape is completely cut out, looking super smooth. Let's see what this looks like in position. just like so. You can see how it's going to allow room for the port to breathe. I know I want to wrap this piece in carpet, and I want to have a nice transition piece in here with a little bit of vinyl, so I want to make a little trim ring inside. What I need to do is I need to make an exact male version of this shape, so it's time for a little bit of router trickery. Now this is an advanced router technique that you're definitely going to want to see, but really quick, I want to say thank you to monthly channel sponsor, New Concepts. New Concepts provides a wide variety of power wire, speaker wire, signal wire, and various connection accessories. Their latest addition to the lineup is this guy right here, the basic 3-way high current fuse distribution block. We can see that this distribution block has 2 inputs and 3 outputs. The inputs and these 2 outputs can hold 4 gauge up to 0 gauge. And then this output here can hold 8 gauge up to 4 gauge. This is great for systems where you have 3 amplifiers, or if you have 2 amplifiers and need another fused source for accessories. It uses these mini A&L fuses that you can pick with your order, and if you wanted to do a distribution block for the ground side, you could also use these ground links. I love these things because they're simple and very easy to install. They're very cost effective and a great choice for your next installation. Check them out at the link down in the video description. I'm going to start this process with using this 1/4 inch piece of wood. I'm going to stick these 2 together, and then here you can see on screen that I'm copying that inside profile using a 1/4 inch spiral flush trim bit. I take that 1/4 inch piece of material that drops out and stick it to a 1/2 inch piece of material, and then I use an oversized router bearing on the flush trim bit. This allows me to expand that outer profile by 5/8 of an inch. This gives me this new piece that on the outside is larger than our original hole. Stick with me, you'll see why in a second. In the meantime, I'm going to use this big boy right here. This is an 1 1/8" rabbet bit. I've got this bit raised out of the table about 1/8 of an inch that it's going to cut up into the material, and again it's going to cut 1 1/8" in from each side. With that process done, I have this slight lip on the inside here, and I've drilled a hole, a 1/4 inch hole, because again I'm going to be using the 1/4 inch flush trim bit. I'll push it through that hole, and I'm going to carefully ride against that edge, trying to save the outer piece. Now, after all those steps, I have this template here, which gives me the shape of what will be my insert piece that is going to press fit into this. But the problem is, right now, it's a little bit too large. In fact, it's about 3/8 of an inch too large on each side. So in order to make a pocket for it, I'm going to use this router bit here. This is a rabbet bit, and I'm using this bearing right here, which gives me a 7/16 cut from the edge of the bearing to the cutting flute. That made this cut for this pocket here, so now we have a perfect shape that will fit our template piece that we made here. I can of course copy that to other pieces, and if we flip it over, this is where it really starts to look cool. See how we're getting this layered effect? Again, this will be wrapped in carpet and this will be wrapped in vinyl. I can do some chamfered edges. The middle here will have grill cloth to completely hide everything. We can start to get a feel for how this is going to come together and how it's going to look. What do you guys think? In the meantime, I've made a mirror copy of the original 2 pieces for the left side of the vehicle. Now everything looks clean, but a little trick that we can do to make it look even better is we can soften up some of these edges with some different roundover bits, and I know that I want to do some roundovers on the inside profiles here as well. Got a bunch of different sizes to choose from here. I'll probably just do a really small, either 1/16 or 1/8 inch around the outside profile because I don't want to have it look too round, but for the inside parts, I'm definitely going to do a little bit bigger of a roundover. And here we are with all the edge profiling complete. Got those roundovers on the edge, so that makes it look really nice. Did a roundover around the outside profile. And I also use the rabbeting bit to add this groove here. This will come into play in a future video where I'll have this centerpiece that goes over this in order to hide the mounting hardware. Now I can take these off and get rid of that double-sided template tape, and I'm going to mount those blocks permanently to these pieces of wood and then add threaded inserts so that this can bolt on. So here we go, we have it mounted now. I did one bolt here, and then this bolt here actually comes through from the pocket into there from my storage compartment. And of course, I mirrored everything else over on the other side. In an upcoming video, I'll be doing the rest of the woodworking and advanced router process to make this cool design in the middle of the box. So to catch that, I would love to have you as a subscriber. A special thanks to sponsor New Concepts, along with Bernard, John, Brian, Ali, Jeremy, Doug, Steve, Emmanuel, Jerry, and the rest of the Patreon support team. A big thanks to all those guys for making these videos possible. Learn more about the team down in the video description. As always, don't forget to design, build, and install.